large-scale military exercises and missile launches, as well as cyber attacks, disinformation campaign, and economic coercion in an attempt to weaken public morale in Taiwan. Thirdly, in terms of the range of its missile tests, China is clearly trying to deter other countries from interfering in its attempt to invade Taiwan. Its rehearsal of anti-access and area denial, or A2AD, tactics gives us a clear image of China's geostrategic ambition beyond Taiwan. In other words, China's real intention behind these military exercises is to alter the status quo in the Taiwan Strait and the entire region. This has already brought significantly unstable elements into the mix, threatening regional security. The third point, Taiwan certainly has the right to maintain relationship with other countries and to participate in and contribute to the international community. The people of Taiwan also have the right to express their collective will through democratic system. China has no right to interfere in or alter this. The government of Taiwan has consistently upheld its four commitments, namely a commitment to a free and democratic constitutional system, a commitment that the ROC Taiwan and the PRC are separate jurisdictions with neither subordinate to the other, a commitment to resist annexation or encroachment upon our sovereignty, and a commitment that the future of Taiwan must be decided in accordance with the will of the Taiwanese people. Taiwan is grateful to all of its friends around the world who have stood up courageously to condemn China's actions and to support Taiwan. The support of so many nations let Taiwan people know that we are not alone. It also sends a clear message to the world that democracy will not bow to the intimidation of authoritarianism. The fourth point, although China seems to be targeting Taiwan now, its activities around the world have shown that its motivation is far beyond Taiwan. China is now determined to link the East and South China Sea through the Taiwan Strait so that this entire area becomes its internal waters. And its intentions are not likely to stop there, as the PLA has crossed the first island chain multiple times to conduct military exercises in recent years. In addition, in May this year, China signed a security agreement with the Solomon Islands and intended to do more or to do the same with more Pacific countries. China's influence also extends into the Southeast Asia, South Asia, and even Africa and Latin America. China's behavior towards Taiwan is merely a pretext. Its ambitions and impact extending far beyond Taiwan. It is thus critical that all freedom-loving countries around the world should work together to explore means to respond to the expansion of authoritarianism. In facing the fifth point, in facing China's joint military exercises, Taiwan's people, society, military, and the government have displayed resilience and confidence and remained calm. China's continued attempt to intimidate Taiwan will not panic us, nor will they defeat us. To Taiwan, the values of freedom and democracy cannot be taken away. They are built into our DNA. Taiwan will continue to staunchly uphold its free and democratic way of life. Acting upon its beliefs with the same determination, Taiwan will continue to defend its sovereignty, its freedom, democracy, and prosperity. We also hope that nations around the world and the international community will support Taiwan in unison and put a stop to China's irresponsible threats and ambitious expansion, and jointly safeguard a free and open, stable and prosperous Indo-Pacific. 我现在念中文的声明。各位媒体朋友，大家好。这几天，中国在台湾周边海域进行联合军事行动，已经严重威胁区域的和平与安全。 我今天要借用这个场合，再次明确说明我国政府的立场。那一共有5点。第一点，中国选择在台湾周边区域进行军演，不仅在演习区的划定上面，严重侵犯我国在国际法上所享有的权利，阻碍了印太地区最繁忙海空航道之一的正常运作，严重影响全球的航运以及贸易，破坏区域的和平与安全。对于中国及其不负责任的行为，我国政府表达严厉谴责。第二点，中国这一次进行针对性的大规模军演，是毫无道理的借机挑衅。裴洛西议长的访台只是中国的借口，中国真正的意图是多重的。首先，中国对台湾的军事威胁已经存在多年，而且持续升高当中，这是一个客观的事实。中国企图将台湾海峡内海化，否定台海是国际水道的现状，以影响国际社会在台海的海空自由航行的权利。这次更以具体行动破坏长久以来台海中线的默契，并且企图在演习之后将之常态化，以破坏台海两岸长久的现状。其次，中国也借机操演其长期以来所准备的侵台行动剧本，除了动员大批基建、飞弹射击，还搭配网络攻击、假讯息攻击、经济胁迫等，企图威吓、扰乱台湾的民心士气。最后，中国飞弹试射的范围很明显的是想要吓阻其他国家介入其犯台的意图。中国演练其反介入区域拒止的这个战术，让我们看清楚中国在西太平洋地区的地缘战略的野心。也就是说，这次中国的演习真正的企图是在改变台海以及区域的现状，而且已经为整体区域安全带来极不稳定的因素。第三点，中华民国台湾作为主权独立的国家，绝对有权利和其他国家进行交往，和透过国际参与对国际社会做出贡献。台湾人民也有权利透过民主制度表达其国民意志。中国无权干涉，也不能改变。我国政府一向秉持4个坚持来应处两岸关系，也就是说，坚持自由民主的宪政体制，坚持中华民国和中华人民共和国互不隶属，坚持主权不容侵犯并吞，以及坚持台湾的前途必须遵循台湾人民的意志。台湾非常感谢所有勇敢站出来谴责中国作为，并且支持台湾的各国友人。各国的力挺让台湾人民知道，我们在国际社会上面并不孤单，也让世界了解民主是不会受到威权恫吓而屈服的。第4点，中国军演目前看起来似乎是只针对台湾，但是观察它在全球各地的作为和企图，已经不局限于台湾。中国现在已经一步一步要将东海、台海以及南海连成一线，使其成为中国的内海。近年来，中国解放军的军演已经多次穿越第一岛链。今年5月，中国还推动与所罗门甚至更多太平洋国家签署安全协议，显示中国正在太平洋建立战略据点，而威权主义的扩张也正在东南亚、南亚甚至非洲和拉丁美洲区域延伸之中。目前中国对台湾的作为和手段只是找到借口，但他的野心绝不会止于台湾，所造成的损害也不会仅止于台湾。我们呼吁所有爱好自由民主的国家必须一起合作，共同研议因应之道。第5点，在这一次我们应处中国军演的过程中，台湾人民、社会、军队与政府都展现了韧性和信心，并且沉着应对。中国试图让台湾人担心害怕，但是我们没有被吓倒，更不会被击倒。对台湾人而言，自由民主的价值存在于我们的 DNA， 没有人可以夺走。台湾将继续坚持自由民主的生活方式，以坚定的信心与作为，捍卫台湾的主权领土以及安定繁荣的生活。 我们也希望国际社会采取行动，共同遏制中国不负责任的对台恫吓，以及野心勃勃的对外扩张，共同维护印太区域的自由开放与稳定繁荣。谢谢大家。Now I would like to take Q&As.
非常感谢部长 ，Thank you very much, Minister. Now we take questions. 我们就先从我们做一个本媒，然后一个外媒。We take one from Taiwanese media, one from international media. To be fair. 你是佩萱来，请。
好，部长好，民事提问，想要问一下，就是这次的中国军演造成了第4次的台海危机嘛？那外交部我们看到说有非常多的驻外大使都有在各国的媒体上面替台湾发声。那外交部这边有没有其他的反制之道？另外想要问说，就是拜登总统有表达说裴洛西来台是他自己的决定。那对于中国这一连串的动作，美方或是裴洛西众议长他本人有没有就是对台湾表达关切呢？谢谢。
As a data science enthusiast, have you wondered what's the secret sauce to get a data science role in companies like Meta, Google, or Apple? What is the recruitment process and preparation strategy for acing these extreme interview rounds? You can now stop asking these questions and start finding the solution by attending Scalar's masterclass on how to prepare for data science roles in FAANG companies. Get a step-by-step preparation guide for free. Click on the link below to join.
首先有关于外交部的这个作为，我们外交部的责任就是希望能够在国际社会能够有更多的这个友谊，能够争取到更多国家、更多的友人来支持台湾。那这一次的这个危机当中，我们看到我们在外面的这些大使代表都非常卖力的去争取支持台湾的这个声音，他们本身也非常努力的去展现我们台湾的这个声音。那这个就是我们外交部能够做到最好的这个地方。那的确，接下来还有很多的这些努力，我们还要再进行。我们希望能够争取到更多的友谊，我们也希望我们台湾的声音能够在国际社会上面来展现。那第二个问题，我刚刚已经有提到了，就是说这一次危机凸显出来民主跟威权主义之间的这个竞争。威权主义现在的扩张是不仅止于台湾。也因此，所有爱好自由、所有爱好民主的这些国家都必须要团结起来。那我们的努力也是希望能够团结更多这些爱好自由、民主的这些国家，共同来支持台湾，共同来遏制中国的这个扩张主义。
非常谢谢部长 ，Thank you very much, Minister. Now we take a question from international media. Okay, Amber, yes, you have questions? Yes, okay.
Good morning, Minister. Amber Wang with AFP. My question is there a real concern in the government that China could invade Taiwan? And what do you hope the international community will do to deter China? Any concrete actions that you would hope? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amber, for the question. Are we concerned? Of course, we are concerned because we have seen China trying to threaten Taiwan militarily for years. And we have been preparing ourselves for a possible attack by China. So when we see the large-scale military exercises and the test of its missiles, it's very concerning. But at the same time, the reaction of the Taiwanese people and the Taiwanese government is that we stay calm and we stay resilient. And as I say to other media outlets, the best way to deal with a regime which is trying to intimidate us is to show that we are not intimidated. When they are trying to scare us, the best way to deal with it is that we are not scared by China.
Thank you very much.
And the second part is about the international support. We have seen many countries coming from the executive branch or from the legislative branch, and also quite a lot of opinion leaders around the world have been showing their support to Taiwan. And I think this is the first step. As long as they are willing to show their support, I think the support is there. To the Taiwanese people, the most important thing is that the international community understands us and shows support to us. And just this morning, you probably noticed that Lithuania's foreign minister wrote an op-ed piece in support of Taiwan, urging the international community to prevent Taiwan from becoming the second Ukraine. So these kinds of voice is loud and it's very clear and it's very supportive of Taiwan. And we hope there can be more countries, more international leaders will come out and show support to Taiwan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Now, time for 一个本媒那本媒的这个媒体一个三立一凡来，请。
不好意思，我是三立新闻网一凡，就是因为中共可能以后会逾越台海中线，就未来可能会常态化这种行为。那就是外交部这边除了就是透过外使来发声之外，那我们还有什么具体行为，然后可以遏制中共未来这种可能一再逾越台海中线的行为这样子？
非常谢谢这个问题，这个问题也是非常的重要。台海中线已经维持了两岸的现状几十年了，它就是一个两岸现状的代表，这是一个事实。那这个事实在过去这几天，因为中国的军事演习已经不断的遭到侵害，那这一个现状的这个代表受到侵害，会影响到区域的和平与稳定，尤其是台湾的安全。那我们外交部的这个作为，就是希望能够有更多的这个国际人士，更多的国家了解到这个情况，跟台湾一起来捍卫这个现状。那我们已经在努力当中。那除了我们的外交部门的作为之外，我相信大家在昨天也有看到我们国防部的对外的说明。我们国防部也非常的努力，在排除中国在中线区域对我方的干扰，或者是不断破坏对台海中线的这个侵扰的行为。那我想我们国家对于台海中线的这个看法，就是说我们要维持现状，而台海中线就是一个维持台海现状的一个象征。我们要有争取更多国家的这个支持的这个努力，来共同来捍卫台海的现状，以及维持台海中线的这个权威性。
谢谢部长。Now next time is international media. Asahi 新闻10天支局长，谢谢。朝日新闻。
你好，部长，我是日本朝日新闻。我有几个问题，第一个问题是外界有声音。是那个这次的美国众议院长的那个访台促使中共会增加台海发生军事冲突的可能性。那部长是针对那个这次美国议长的那个访问是如何评价？这是一个。然后那个刚才部长也说到，那个中共把那个美国议长的访台作为一个借口。那部长认为他是为什么把它做个借口？也发起那个对台湾的一系列军演，然后还有一个，那个部长也刚才说到，那个中共已经发起网络战争，还有假讯息的战争，但是从我们看来，假讯息战争、网络战争是很难抓到的，很难抓到证据。那请你跟我们分享那个外交部掌握的，能说到这个确实那个中共发起的一个证据。好，谢谢。
非常谢谢你这些问题哈。那个这一次美国的国会议长 Nancy Pelosi 来台湾访问，那对我们台湾人民来说，这个是一件非常振奋的事情。那最近也有一些民意调查显示，绝大多数的台湾民众都欢迎支持美国的国会议长能够来台湾访问。那我也相信会有更多的国家的这个国会议长会来台湾访问。这个事情不会停下来，那我们也会继续努力。那为什么这个事情对我们台湾重要？要看中国对我们台湾的这个做法。中国在国际社会上面就是要封锁、要打压、要挤压我们台湾的生存空间。那他不希望我们台湾能够跟更多的国家有更多的这个关系。那在这种情况之下，我们台湾不能够束手就擒。我们台湾的努力就是要去争取更多的国家、更多的这些领导人能够来支持我们台湾。所以因此，当有一个著名的国际社会的领袖愿意来台湾访问， 那这个就是我们台湾打开国际空间的一个最好的机会，也让台湾人民感到非常的振奋，说我们台湾并不孤单，因为有这些人在支持我们。那另外，中国的借口是很清楚的，他在准备他的这些军事的这些剧本当中，当然就必须要有一个借口来对台湾来侵扰。那这一次刚好是用这个议长来台湾访问当做一个借口，但是你看他的所有的这些军事演习的这些准备，我刚刚讲过了，包括飞弹，接下来是大规模的海空联合军演，接下来是无人机，再接下来是 cyber attacks， 就是网络攻击，还有 disinformation campaign， 还有 economic coercion， 这些全部都加起来，这个不是在几天之内就可以准备好了。所以中国是一直在准备这些，那这些都是在中国的长久以来在准备的这个剧本当中，所以这个只是一个小小的借口而已。那第三个是有关于网络的这个问题，的确我们外交部有受到网络的侵袭，那有些比较 detail 的这个部分，详细的这个部分可能不方便对外来公布，但是我可以在这边可以跟你说明一下，我们外交部的网站和政府的英文入口网站，第一次在8月2号侦测到有大量来自中国和俄罗斯的这个 IP 的连线攻击，意图瘫痪我们网站的这个运作，1分钟高达850万次的这个连线。那经过紧急的复原系统作业，那当天网站都已经恢复浏览的功能，这个是第一天。但是境外的这个网军仍然持续攻击外交部的相关网站。在8月4号的中午、8月4号的深夜、8月5号的清晨、8月6号的凌晨，我们相继侦测到境外网军以更新的手法进行更大量的攻击也就是说，原来我们侦测到是来自于中国、俄罗斯的攻击，现在已经手法已经更多元化了。那这个恶意连线的次数最大的值已经高达每分钟1亿7000多万次。那经过紧急的抢修，外交部的官方网站已经同日修复完毕。那上述2个网站目前是正常运作的当中。那我们看到，除了外交部的这个官网和台湾的英文入口网站之外，我们台湾政府也有其他几个网站是受到严重攻击的，我相信大家都知道。那对于境外敌对势力的网军仍然不断发动攻击，相关网站或有浏览速度较慢，或者是暂时中断连线的这个情形以进行连线过滤以及调整网络的设定。那我们外交部会持续保持高度警戒。那如果说还有任何异常的情形，会妥于善处。
非常感谢部长And then now 本媒的时间来自由一轩。
部长好，想请问一下，因为中国对台湾升高了它的威胁嘛，那外交战方面，想要请问部长，目前我们和14个邦交国的关系都稳固吗？那外交部这边预防中国在抢夺我们友邦的遏制作为、防治作为是什么？谢谢。
非常谢谢这个问题。的确，我们外交部的重点工作之一，就是在外交上面必须要巩固我们的正常的这个邦交关系，那也必须要持续拓展我们的对外关系。那在我们的邦交国方面目前我们14个邦交国关系应该都是相当的稳固。那也有几个邦交国，他们的这个高层首长或者是外交部长会安排来到台湾，那凸显出他们对我们台湾的这个支持，也凸显出我们跟他们邦交的这个稳固。那现在大家也看到的就是盛文生的总理目前人已经在台湾了，他来台湾的目的就是要展现对台湾的这个支持。那这个是邦交国的部分。那另外有关于我们拓展跟非邦交国的关系方面，这个也是我们外交部的一个非常重要的工作之一。那我们不但是在北美洲在大洋洲，或者是说在欧洲，尤其是在欧洲我们的这种友谊不断的扩大，支持我们台湾的这些友人不断的增加。所以我们在过去这一段时间之中我们的国际社会上面的这个支持是越来越多的。 那我们跟邦交国之间的关系目前没有问题。
非常感谢部长。Now time for international press。好，我们看到这个 Nikkei Asia 那个子和。
Thank you for taking my questions. Many flights have been canceled despite the PLA military drills having expired. And many Taiwanese suppliers operating in China and foreign companies are worried about the safety risks and the increasing trade barriers around the Taiwan Strait. So what Taiwan can take to respond to and de-escalate this situation? Have you been in talks with your counterparts in neighboring countries such as Japan or South Korea to this situation? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this question. Indeed, this is a question of international concern. International trade or international transportation should not subject to these kinds of hindrance, and China is doing that. And it is impacting upon the international trade and international transportation. And as I said at the beginning, we condemn China's irresponsible behavior. And we are also speaking with like-minded partners on how to deal with the situation. And before we have a conclusion, let me just keep it right at this moment that we will continue to work very hard to prevent China from doing more to interrupt international trade or international transportation. But as you said, China has stopped or declared that it will stop its military exercises. But listen, their sea, air military exercises continue, especially along the medium line of the Taiwan Strait. And therefore, the Chinese military actions may not be the same as what they declared. And this should be the international concern. And we call upon the international community to condemn China's irresponsible behavior and its threat to regional peace and stability.
Thank you very much, Minister. So because Minister time, we have last round of questions. Yeah, 我们最后一轮 there are many questions. I know. 我们先出本媒，好，那个来上报配分。
我想追问一下刚刚关于这个跟邻近的国家，还有我们一般的盟友高层联系的问题。在从裴洛西访台一直到现在，中国军演不断升高。我们跟我们一般来讲就支持我们的这些主要国家的联系的层级到什么层级？包括我们以美国为例好了，就是国务院层级，或者是到白宫的国安会层级。那么有没有讨论过，在什么情况之下，我们会升高我们的因应作为到什么程度，或者是说会采取联合的行动？包括如果说以美国为例，就是他们一直主张以外交解决这件事情，那么他们会不会再派遣一定层级的官员到台湾来？谢谢。
非常谢谢你这个问题哈。我知道你是非常有经验的那个外交线的记者。那我们跟其他国家的这个行政部门，尤其是这些跟我们没有邦交关系国家的这个行政部门的这个联系啊，跟谁联系，在什么地方联系，或者是透过什么样的管道联系的这个内容，那这个都是基于很多的这个默契，我们从来就不会对外面说明。但是我可以跟你说，就是说我们跟这些理念相近国家的这个联系是非常的密切。那大家也都非常关注到最近这一段期间，中国对台湾的这个军事的威吓以及造成对区域安全的这个影响，这个联系是非常的密切。那我想我们这个联系对我们台湾继续来面对中国的军事威吓是很有帮助的。谢谢你这个问题。
非常谢谢部长。Last question, we'll do that for international media. Okay, Kathleen, Financial Times.
谢谢。部长，那 I use English, that's maybe better. You have spoken quite a lot about the median line and China declaring its ownership over it. Now we've seen this before in the South China Sea and around the Senkaku Diaoyutai Islands. So this time around, what is Taiwan's concrete proposal or suggestion how the international community could or should push the Chinese military back from regularizing its presence on this side of the median line. That probably won't happen just with words. Thank you.
Well, appreciate it very much, Catherine. And that is a very important issue, not just for Taiwan, but also for other countries in this region. Look at what China is doing to Taiwan. The medium line of the Taiwan Strait has been there for decades, safeguarding peace and stability, as well as the status quo across the Taiwan Strait. And China is trying to wreck that. And that is something that we need to join our hands with like-minded partners to make sure that the medium line is still there to safeguard peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. And if you look at the East China Sea or South China Sea, China is doing the same. It's incremental presence in this region and going through the legal warfare or lawfare to legitimize its presence in the region and to go through the gray zone activities, either through its Coast Guard or armed fishing boats or maritime militia to capture the entire region or to conduct its activities in the entire region in order to substantiate its claim over this region. So all these kinds of activities are closely associated. And I'm sure the Chinese activities are getting our friends like Japan very nervous and getting the Southeast Asian friends very nervous as well. So we are on the same boat. And under these kinds of circumstances, the only way to deal with it is to unite more countries who love freedom of navigation to ensure that the region remains free and open. And in the past few years, in the past couple of years, we have seen more countries adopted their Indo-Pacific strategy, adopted free and open Indo-Pacific type of policy. And they join hands with the United States or Japan or Australia in conducting freedom of navigation operations in this region. And these are concrete actions to ensure that all these safe places are remains free and open.
Thank you very much. The minister has another prior engagement, so thank you for your participation. 我们也非常感谢部长今天拨冗我们主持记者会，谢谢。
好，谢谢大家。Thank you very much.
foreign ministers say they stick to the Taiwan China policy, understands China's necessary measures to defend our sovereignty and territorial integrity. ASEAN foreign ministers also released a statement said that they combined by China policy.
One of its worst fires in a field deposit, so the Cuban government
古巴媒体提问：古巴目前正在扑灭一个燃料库最严重的火灾。古巴政府请求国际援助，许多国家都做出了响应。中方对此有何评论？中方是否有提供援助的计划？
中国和 China and Cuba are good friends, good comrades, and good partners. China expresses our deep mourning for the passing, for the casualties, and express our sympathies to the family and the injured. The Red Cross Society of China has decided to provide emergency humanitarian assistance to the Cuban counterpart, and China is ready to continue to provide assistance to the Cuban side. Next question, please.
China Review News. Japan's Prime Minister said Japan strongly condemned China's firing of missiles after the missiles fall into its EEZ and said it impacts the peace and stability of the region and the safety of its people. What's your comment? China is firmly against Japan's erroneous remarks and groundless accusations. China is in no position and has no right to make such remarks on the Taiwan question, no matter in legal, political, or ethical terms. In response to Japan's remarks, State Councilor Wang Yi already refuted that during the East Asia Cooperation Foreign Ministers meeting. Japan once illegally occupied and invaded Taiwan and kept the island under its colonial rule for 5 decades. It has killed more than 600,000 of our Taiwan compatriots, plundered local resources, and forcibly recruited laborers from East Asia countries, and they have been tortured to death. The Cairo Declaration in 1943 stipulates that all the territories Japan has stolen from the Chinese, including Taiwan and Penghu Islands, shall be restored to China. And Article 8 of the Potsdam Proclamation stipulates that terms of the Cairo Declaration shall be carried out, and Japan accepted the Potsdam Proclamation and announced unconditional surrender. The China-Japan joint statement signed when China and Japan normalized their diplomatic relations also stipulates that Japan respects China's stand on this regard. Japan should not forget the history and needs to reflect upon what it has done from time to time. Have Japan forgot the commitments it made when signing the joint statement with China? Does it mean to subvert the political foundation of China-Japan relations? Japan has been keeping a high profile on the Taiwan question. Does it harbor an ambition regarding the Taiwan region? Could it possibly be that Japan wants to take this as an excuse to expand military buildup, forsake its pacifist constitution and following the path of peaceful development? Japan should offer international community a responsible explanation. You mentioned Japan said China's military drills have infringed upon its so-called EEZ. China and Japan have not carried out maritime delimitation in relevant waters, so there's no such a thing as Japan's EEZ, and Taiwan is part of China's territory. We have conducted normal military drills in the waters of our own territory. They are open, transparent, professional, and it's within the domestic law and international practices and law. And it is a warning to provocateur and a step to uphold regional stability and cross-strait peace. We urge Japan to reflect upon its history of aggression and understand the highly sensitive nature of the Taiwan question, abiding by the spirit of the 4 political documents and the commitments it's made, stop following the U.S. in its negative words and deeds and the wrong strategy of containing China with the Taiwan question, and to avoid causing serious harm to bilateral relations. Next question, please.
Question from Bloomberg regarding the
彭博社提问：您刚才提到了相关军事演习活动和透明度的问题，我想请问一下，在台岛周围的这个演习，现在是否已经如期停止了，还是说还在继续这些军演？
中国军方已经
The Chinese military has already released a readout. I would refer you to that. Next question, please.
“法新社提问，还是想请问一下这个军演的问题。目前来看，中国的军方还是继续在台岛周围进行联合演习，这么做的原因是什么呢？这也是对佩洛西访台的一个反制措施吗？为什么中国觉得上周的军演还是不足够，还要继续呢？”
Could you repeat your question, please?
法新社提问：中国军方今天宣
多次就
Previously, we have elaborated China's position on multiple occasions. I would like to take this opportunity to make our position clear again. In this regard of China's grave opposition and representations, Pelosi has visited Taiwan. This violates China's sovereignty and territorial integrity and gravely interferes in China's internal affairs, reneges on the U.S. commitment, and undermines cross-strait stability and peace. China has every reason to make strong response. Our position is legitimate, reasonable, and proportionate, and our measures are strong, proportionate, and firm. Our military exercises are open, transparent, and professional. It is consistent with domestic law, international law, and international customary practice. It is aimed to warn the perpetrators and punish the Taiwan independence forces. We will firmly uphold China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, firmly deter the U.S. scheme of containing China with the Taiwan question, and crush the DPP authorities' fantasy about seeking independence with Taiwan with the U.S. support. Next question, please.
The drills are mentioned.
“我想请问一下，就是之前中方宣布的是这个演习会持续到8月7号的下午结束，但是目前还没有结束。那么这个是符合国际通行惯例的做法吗？中方是不是会宣布新的这个军演？因为可能会影响到过航的船只，还有这个飞机等等。请记者再重复一遍问题。Could you repeat the question, please?”
International
据我们所知，中方上周发布的军演通告，通知的是军演将会持续到8月7号的下午，也就截止到期了。那么，中方继续进行军演，似乎是不符合对于国际军演的国际惯例的。那么，我想请问，中方是否会对这个新进行的军演发布通知和宣告呢？是否会向民用的这个船只还有飞机等发布新的预警？
台湾是中国的领。
Taiwan is part of China. Conducting normal military exercises is open, transparent, and professional of our own waters. Relevant competent authorities have already released statement. This is consistent with our domestic law, international law, and international customary practice. This is legitimate to uphold our territorial integrity and sovereignty. Next question, please. Phoenix TV, we noticed that on the 5th, U.S. Secretary of State Blinken, Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong, Japanese Foreign Minister Hayashima also released a joint statement after their trilateral strategic dialogue, reiterating that there's no change in the respective One China policies where applicable in the basic positions on Taiwan of Australia, Japan, or the United States. That insertion of when applicable was also found in the joint statement of G7 foreign ministers and EU High Representative. What is China's comment on that? The One China principle is a universal consensus of the international community and a basic norm in international relations. It is an integral part of the post-war international order and recognized by the UNGA Resolution 2758. It is also the political foundation for China to establish and develop diplomatic relations with relevant countries. Taiwan, as a province of China, has no independent status. Relevant countries has put in place preconditions or proposal for the One China principle. This is illegal and void, and China firmly rejects this. The content and the definition of the One China principle is clear. That is, there's only one China in the world, and Taiwan is part of China. The government of the People's Republic of China is the sole legal government representing the entire China. The One China principle is universal, unconditional, and undoubtful. All countries with diplomatic ties with China and all member states of the UN should unconditionally comply with the One China principle and the UNGA Resolution 2758. Relevant practice of certain countries is a mischaracterization and distortion of the One China principle. It is in essence challenging the authority and legal efficacy of the One China principle and challenging the post-war international order. A person without credibility could hardly establish himself in society, and a country without credibility could hardly establish itself in the international community. We suggest relevant countries read history, abide by the solemn commitments in black and white, have a clear understanding of the solemn commitments and the danger and the harm of emboldening Taiwan independence forces. Challenging the One China principle means challenging international rule of law and international order. It will be opposed by the international community and will lead nowhere. Next question, please.
This is a question on the visit of a Chinese ship to Sri Lanka. Reports have said that China's ambassador in Sri Lanka met with President Wickremesinghe on Saturday, and this followed a request from Sri Lanka that China delay the visit of the ship that was scheduled to call in Hambantota port from August 11 to 17. Can you confirm that Sri Lanka made this request to delay the visit, and do you also have a response? Thank you.
I have noted relevant reports. I would like to reiterate 2 points. First, Sri Lanka is a transport hub in the Indian Ocean. Many scientific exploration ships, including those from China, have stopped at the port of Sri Lanka for resupplies. China has always exercised the freedom of navigation in the high seas and fully respects the jurisdiction of coastal states of the scientific exploration activities within their jurisdiction waters. Second, Sri Lanka is a sovereign state. It can develop relations with other countries in light of its own development interests. The cooperation between China and Sri Lanka is independently chosen by the two countries and meets common interests. It does not target any third parties. Citing the concept of security concerns is senseless to pressure Sri Lanka. China urges relevant parties to see China's scientific explorations in a reasonable and sensible way and stop disturbing normal exchange and cooperation between China and Sri Lanka. Next question, please.
谢谢发言人。总台央视记者提问，这个问题呢依然是与美日澳有关的。我们也注意到呢，澳大利亚
Also, question about the U.S., Japan, and Australia. We have noted that after the trilateral meeting, they issued a joint statement on the cross-strait situation and Taiwan question. I wonder how does China view Australia's acts under the current China-Australia relations? Just now, I have made China's position clear over the trilateral statement. In disregard of basic facts, Australian side unwarrantedly accuses China of what it has done to uphold sovereignty and territorial integrity, which is legitimate and lawful. This goes against the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, blatantly interferes in China's internal affairs, and undermines regional peace and stability. China firmly rejects that. In recent years, China-Australia relations faced severe difficulties. The responsibility lies with the Australian side, and the ins and outs are very clear. China's position of developing China-Australia relations is clear and persistent. A sound and steady development of the relations meets the fundamental interests and shared aspiration of the two peoples. We urge the Australian side to have a clear understanding of the situation, to right from wrong, and respect the core interests and major concerns of China, abide by the One China principle and basic norms in international relations, stop interfering in China's internal affairs, and stop its erroneous behaviors in undermining regional peace and stability, and not to create new obstacles to China-Australia relations. Last week, your colleague shared the situation of the visit to Xinjiang by Islamic countries' envoy to China. Can you further elaborate on the visit? From August the 1st to the 5th, diplomatic envoys to China from Islamic countries visited Xinjiang upon invitation. Ambassadors and diplomats from 30 Islamic countries, including Algeria and other countries, visited Xinjiang. During the visit, the delegation visited Kashgar, Aksu, and Urumqi, visited mosques, Xinjiang Islamic institutes, grassroots communities, cotton plantations, and former education centers. And they spent time in the Uyghur families and had communication with the religious figures. They saw with their own eyes the harmony between people of all ethnic backgrounds and the full protection of people's freedom of religious belief and the breakthroughs of our efforts in poverty reduction and rural revitalization. They spoke highly of China's strategies to put people first and appreciate the huge efforts and outcomes in economic development and the unity there. They said that the fruits in Xinjiang are sweet, and the people's lives here are just as sweet as the fruits. And the people here live in harmony, freedom, and the tranquility. The people here are very happy and with a great sense of security about their living environment. They expect that they can share in more opportunities of Belt and Road cooperation and have more cooperation in infrastructure, modern agriculture, and education and science and technology cooperation. Seeing is believing. We have heard similar positive comments about Xinjiang by foreign delegations after their visit to Xinjiang. People in Xinjiang can tell that if their human rights and the freedom of religious beliefs are protected in Xinjiang, and the international community can see with their own eyes. Since December 2018, more than 2,000 people from all walks of life from more than 100 countries and regions have visited Xinjiang. They have seen harmony, prosperity, and the tranquility in Xinjiang. In the Human Rights Council, nearly 100 countries supported China's just position and opposed interference in China's interference under the pretext of human rights. I want to stress that a handful of Western politicians would rather choose to believe in the lies made up by certain individuals instead of listening to the shared voice of more than 25 million Xinjiang population. They would rather to cooperate with the clumsy act put up by anti-China forces rather than face up to the fact that Xinjiang is witnessing development and progress. We urge these politicians to listen to the just voice in the international community and stop playing the Xinjiang card to destabilize Xinjiang and contain China.
Question from Reuters. What's the agenda for the South Korean foreign minister's visit in China? Will he be meeting with Chinese officials face to face? And what does China hope to get out of the visit? Thanks.
路透社提问，想请问一个韩国外长访华的问题。他的议程里面会不会和中国的官员进行面对面的会谈呢？以及中国希望从此次访问中，看到什么成果？
Last week, my colleague has already released a statement that the ROK foreign minister will visit China upon invitation, and during their meeting, State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi will have meeting with his counterpart, and China will put out a release in a timely basis. Please stay tuned. Kill the news. Has the military drill concluded that is scheduled to end on the 7th? I would refer you to the readout put out by the Chinese military. Next question, please.
The ASEAN comments at the top, please. I just wanted to clarify, did the ASEAN group, did they support China's position on Taiwan? Taiwan actions, I should say, recent Taiwan actions. I'm asking because Antony Blinken is also citing ASEAN as supporting the US position. I wonder if you could clarify a little bit about the ASEAN response specifically on recent Taiwan actions by China. Thank you.
我想再请问一下，东盟国家是否支持中国近日在台海采取的行动呢？我想请您澄清的原因是，我们也看到美方布林肯国务卿也引用了东盟方面的表态，表示东盟方面对美国的立场是支持的，所以还是想请您在这个问题上进一步说明一下。
我愿意，很乐意啊，给你介绍一下相关的情况。
I would like to share some information with you. The ASEAN foreign ministers released a statement on the cross-strait situation, reaffirming their commitment to the One China principle. The Lao foreign minister also released a statement saying that Taiwan is an indispensable part of China. It condemns the action by the US side and supports the Chinese government in achieving the unification. Cambodia Foreign Minister Park So-kun also said that the US actions goes against its own commitment and escalates tensions. This reflects the US hegemonic practice and supports China in defending its own interests and make strong response to the US actions. A Singaporean foreign minister, when meeting with his counterpart Wang Yi, said that the Singaporean side oppose the One China principle and opposes any unilateral action to change the status quo. The special envoy of Malaysia also said in a statement that he hopes that the Western countries will not take double standards in treating the Taiwan question and the Ukraine issue, as the countries are condemning what is happening in Ukraine while interfering in other countries' internal affairs in the Taiwan question. I think facts speak for itself. In addition to the ASEAN countries, more than 170 countries have spoken in various ways for their support for China when it comes to the Taiwan question. This is a landslide in comparison to the few support Western countries have gained. Next question, please. According to reports, U.S. Secretary